Hi, welcome to Mont Inspiration Podcast. Pump up the volume as we discuss our homeschooling journey, ideas, creativity, and any other topics that may come up. This podcast focuses on Montessori in the primary ages 3 through 6. You can also find me on Instagram at montinspiration. Right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to my podcast. I've been taking a break for a couple of weeks just because I've been trying to get a lot of stuff done, like printing, some laminating, and it's just been a whole process.
Yeah, I've been seeing your process. You've been posting lots. I'm very impressed.
Yeah, I've been trying. So I jump ahead. I wanted to do, right now we're on the layers of ocean, and then I wanted to jump into biomes and the country maps or continent boxes. And I figured out that I wanted to do a couple of other things before I started all of that. So I've just been kind of like running all over the place to print things out, but I'm sure everyone knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's the thing about homeschool. It can change on the fly.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so I have my second guest with me today. Her name is Emily Barris. She's also on Instagram. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm Emily Barris. I'm on Instagram at m.barris.
Okay. And that's spelled em.berres. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So I'm here with Emily today, and we're basically just going to talk about what curriculums we use or what guides or manuals that we use to schedule or plan out our Montessori homeschool. But Emily, what I like about her Instagram account is that she's always citing wherever she gets her information from. And I feel like that's one of my pet peeves as of late is just, letting the people know where you get your info from. So that way, people can learn how to do Montessori, however strict they want to do it in their home, because everyone's different, obviously. All right. So I just have a few questions for Emily today. First being, what does Montessori mean to you, and how do you implement it in your home?
Montessori for me began as a home trend, beautiful wooden toys. That is what attracted me to it, but it has evolved since to a belief in the philosophy that Montessori education can change the world. I really believe in the message of peace, in the message of change. That's like maybe an overarching theme to my belief and understanding of Montessori is change. The change it inspires in us as adults. Like the journey we take, we start for one reason, but eventually our understanding evolves. Change in the future of humanity, change in our perception and understanding of children, and change of children as they go through the various planes of development.
Yeah, I remember I mentioned this on one of my last podcasts, but I was very confused in the beginning because there would be all of these beautiful pictures on Instagram, like Montessori toys. And that was one of the big things that really confused me because I didn't understand what Montessori toys versus Montessori materials was, or, it was just so confusing at first. But yeah, I'm glad we're talking about where to get your information from today, because that's such a big help.
Yeah, it's so important in Montessori education specifically because this education is based off of science, right? And when you're talking about something scientific, you need to be able to show where you got the information, if it's credible, because I mean, you can see maybe on Facebook, for example, people can
Mm-hmm.
post anything and it can go viral. And then you've got
Yeah.
people believing all sorts of silly things. So that's the thing. We're talking about an education that's based in science and human development. And that is why it's important that we are providing citation and accurate information.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Okay, my next question is, what is your favorite category in Montessori? Is it language, math, sensorial, practical
Mm.
life, culture? What would be your favorite?
My favorite is math,
Yeah.
definitely math.
Yeah. Yeah, Montessori math is, I think that's what attracted me at first was Montessori math because it's just so concrete and your child gets to do all of the hands-on, count all of the beads with their hands or just feel things, the number rods. There's just so many cool things you can do with Montessori
Yeah,
math.
it's sad that a lot of children grow up and a lot of adults grow up not only believing that they aren't good at math or that they can't do math, but actually growing up and not really not being able to do math. And it's because of the way our education system is. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you do have hands-on materials in your classroom, it's likely that your government hasn't allotted proper funding to your school, to our education system. So schools can't afford concrete materials for every student in the class. Maybe only the teacher has that material and she's doing a demonstration, and still you're not getting to handle the material. You're seeing the teacher handle it, right? So still then it can't, you still can't make connections.
Yeah, yeah. I, as a kid, I remember struggling so much because it felt like it was just us memorizing a bunch of facts. Like, this is
Mm,
one, this is two, like one plus one equals two, one plus two, it was just,
mm,
it was that way. And I felt pressured. But yeah, I think that's what made me just not like math in general growing up is
mm,
because of all the memorization instead of being able to hold something in my hands. I think I'm a hands-on learning person.
mm, mm.
Um, but yeah, I definitely have to see things too. So I'm definitely a visual learner also. Um, but yeah, my third question would be when people look at your account, what would you hope is their biggest takeaway?
When people look at my account, I hope that they see that Montessori information is out there for everyone to access.
Mm-hmm.
Um, AMI doesn't hold a monopoly on Montessori education, on interest in Montessori. Um, that you can even find resources on Amazon. You can purchase the books and you can
Mm-hmm.
learn everything for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think before I purchased a manual, I was looking up YouTube videos, and I know there's some YouTube accounts out there. I think it's called um I can't remember Montessori Works or
My works Montessori.
yeah, My Works Montessori. I like
I
I
know that
like
one.
them. I,
I like that too.
and then I've looked up Allison's Montessori's YouTube and I it was this video way back. It seemed like it was from I don't know, maybe it wasn't from the 90s. Maybe I'm thinking of another account, but there was someone it looked like it was set in the 80s or 90s, but she taught us or was teaching her kids how to write, how to hold a utensil,
Mm,
moving from the sandpaper letter all the way to actually holding a pencil in hand.
mm,
And I got some great tips off of there too.
Yeah, there's a lot of free resources,
Mm-hmm.
free websites. There's Montessori Compass.
Mm-hmm.
Another one, oh, maybe Montessori Albums. That's a
Mm-hmm.
good one. There's Montessori World.org, I think it's called.
Okay.
That's a really great resource too. And it's all free.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then of course there's videos
Mm-hmm.
on YouTube.
Yeah, yeah. I think I prefer the videos just because I
Mm.
have to like see it. So, but
Mhm.
yeah.
Especially
So,
with math, especially with math. It's
oh
a lot
yeah.
to just read, and even to watch someone else do it. It's nice to like actually get the materials, or even on a piece of paper, plan it out, like sketch out a lesson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I've definitely done that before. Um, okay, so going down into the resources
Mm.
per category in Montessori. So, what resources or curriculum do you use for language?
For language,
Mm-hmm.
um, because the way that Montessori was originally designed for Italian children,
Mm-hmm.
um, early Montessori educators had to develop programs for English speaking, English reading children, and also children of other languages. So we
Mm-hmm.
use the Muriel Dwyer scheme.
Mm-hmm.
So I get information from a manual or a pamphlet that I got. It is on Amazon,
Okay.
um, but I ordered it from another website, which I can't. No, actually, you know what? I did order it from Amazon, and I had to order it from the American Amazon.
Oh,
They
okay.
don't even have it on Canadian Amazon, so I had to like order it specially through Amazon USA. But that's a really that the pamphlet is really helpful. It's small, but it's really helpful. Um, there's also for the pink, blue, green series, you can find there's a free resource at montessoriworld.org.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the sequence. You can see uh, lesson plans. You can watch videos by one of the women who created that program, Margaret Humphrey.
Okay.
And um, so yeah, I kind of I would say that I use the Muriel Dwyer scheme.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the two are very close. They're very similar. Like the pink, blue, green series and the Muriel Dwyer scheme are very similar. As
Mm-hmm.
there's some differences. The first is well, maybe not the first, but one is that when you introduce sandpaper letters, you're introducing double consonants, so sounds with double consonants like sh and ch and as well. So you're introducing those at the same time as the
Oh, okay.
single letter sound. Mm.
Okay. Yeah, I use Foresight Montessori. I've tagged them in my Instagram account several times, but I just stumbled upon them one day and their pink series is free.
Oh
So,
yes, I remember you said that. I
yeah.
just wrote down their names because I want to go. Because you know what, even if you aren't going to follow, like if you want to follow the Muriel Dwyer scheme and not pink, blue, green, you can still use resources from the pink, blue, green, right? For the first activity in the Muriel Dwyer scheme is like the sound game. I spy with my little eye something that begins with.
Hmm.
So you can use like the CVC like cards from the pink, blue, green series as like the visuals for your child. Like if you don't have enough actual objects around your house.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I liked Foresight Montessori because everything's free. They have a printable alphabet, even though, Montessori, you'd want to get like a movable alphabet so you can hold the
Mm,
letters in your hand, but they have everything, everything. And I like that it's free and it's affordable.
mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, that pink series has taught us how to read. So I'm sticking to the pink, blue, and green series.
Yeah, it's a great one. It is a great one. And also it was um like Montessori didn't create it herself, but she worked closely with Margaret Humphrey and Phoebe Child. So
Okay. Okay.
it maybe you could say it had her blessing.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
has the Montessori blessing.
Yeah.
I mean, Muriel Dwyer also knew Maria Montessori, so hers is, she's also got a Montessori blessing.
Yeah.
Mario Montessori actually writes the preface to it, or maybe an introduction to her pamphlet. So it's also got it's
Okay.
also got a Montessori blessing.
Okay. Okay. What resources or curriculum do you use when it comes to math?
For math, okay. So this isn't this isn't ideal for everyone, I'm sure. But when it comes to math, I read basically every resource that I know of
Yeah.
and then put them together.
Okay. So can you give us
Um,
a list
yes.
of
Okay.
things?
So there is psychoarithmetic, but it's translated um, from from a collection of works by Montessori. There's
Okay.
psychogeometry,
Hmm.
also translated um, from works of Maria Montessori. I also read a book called Math Works by Michael Duffy. There's another book, Montessori Explained Simply.
Hmm.
Another book called Basic Montessori Learning Activities for Under Fives by
Okay.
David Getman. So I
Okay.
read before, before I decide which materials I'm going to buy, because I don't buy them all because I can't afford to, because I'm a homeschooler.
Hmm.
And before I put together a lesson plan, or how I'm going to present a lesson, that is what my lesson plans are, planning out how to present a lesson. I consult all of those works. So
Okay.
that's maybe not ideal for all people,
Hmm.
but it
No,
does.
no, I understand what you're trying to do. You're
Mm,
just trying to cover all your bases to make sure that
yeah.
you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, because I want to stay as close to authentic Montessori as I can.
Hmm.
Um, I believe that Montessori has changed
Hmm.
since Maria Montessori died. Montessori should change because, of course, our understanding of the human brain has advanced since the 1950s.
Hmm.
But still, I want to stay, I want to know personally the authentic way that Montessori was
Hmm.
taught to children, and then I adapt it according to um, modern understanding of the human brain.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, yeah, so what I basically use is Montessori RD, and I use them
Mm,
too for language, pretty much everything. So
yeah.
my main source is Montessori RD, and if you haven't heard of them, you can look them up or Google them up, and their whole website comes up, and they have this brand new online curriculum that you can do that the child can do on the computer. They just
Mm,
came out with it. I don't understand everything that's on it
mm-hmm,
because I use their um, books, their manuals. Um, but yeah, they develop, they make and sell Montessori curriculum materials based off of continuous or continued research. So they're always
mm-hmm,
researching new ways or researching, I guess, the most appropriate way for here and now.
mm-hmm,
Because, like you said, that whole thing with Montessori changing, I think it should change too because
Yeah.
you're right, it isn't the 1900s or 1950, this is,
Hmm.
we're way into 2000, 2022. And but yeah, I definitely love Montessori RD, and it's helped us so much. It's helped me so much. They give a step-by-step approach to teaching your child how to use the Montessori materials. So ever since I got those manuals, I've been less stressed and just been able to just go through one lesson at a time.
Hmm.
Oh, I also wanted to add that I don't like to read the lessons too far ahead because I feel like I'll overwhelm myself. So
Yeah.
I usually like to read, I don't know, two lessons ahead, just
Mm.
make
Yeah.
sure I'm not holding my child back.
Mm.
So, what resources or curriculum would you use for sensorial?
For sensorial,
Mm-hmm.
I've used The Discovery of the Child by Maria Montessori. I used Dr. Montessori's own handbook because she gives a lot of detail about the materials, like the physical material.
Mm-hmm.
I also use that book that I mentioned earlier, Basic Montessori Learning Activities for Under Fives by David Getman. That's a really great one for homeschoolers. I think that's a must because he lists, first of all, the Montessori sequence, which is the Montessori curriculum. So it
Okay.
tells you like what materials you would introduce in order. And
Okay.
then he also provides corresponding lesson breakdowns for the materials. So that's really helpful. It's one place for Montessori homeschoolers to go to, one source to consult instead of investing in a lot of books. You can invest in this one book and get a lot of really great information.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, for sensorial, I still use Montessori RD. Um, and I've used Montessori Tube Academy.
Mm,
They have a monthly membership plan, but there's only 2 times out of the year that you can sign up. And they basically give you a weekly or monthly plan. So that way you don't have to make any plans. You can just follow theirs. They
mm,
have they have some video tutorials. They have some a couple of manuals. But I've whatever's missing from their website, that's where I always refer back to Montessori RD's manuals.
mm.
Yeah, so I'm a huge Montessori RD
You
fan.
are. You should get a
Huge.
sponsorship.
I wish. But
Yeah.
yeah.
For sensorial as well, we had mentioned like free resources like YouTube.
Hmm.
Um, I watch a lot of presentations on YouTube. I'll set up like my laptop while I'm doing dishes and just
Hmm.
watch like presentations on repeat
Hmm.
the whole time I'm doing dishes just to kind of like really let it sink in.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. So moving on. I was going to ask you what resources you would use for practical life, but I
Yeah,
think
we've discussed this
I
before.
think we've talked about it before. On my last podcast, I interviewed Rachel Zell, and we
Yeah.
discussed a lot of tips on how to
Yeah. She did.
start,
She does give a lot of resources. Yeah.
yeah, on how to start, for example, with sewing,
Mm.
or with cutting things in the kitchen. The Montessori toddler book is a book that I really like because it gives you all of those first steps and a whole list of
Mm.
um, practical life activities at the end of the book and their age and what ages they're for. So that's what I liked about the Montessori toddler when we
Mm.
when we started doing our practical life. But Practical life is just kind of like,
Everyday living, just
yes,
basic everyday
yes.
living, what your child needs to just
Hmm.
survive.
Yes. So we do a lot of that in the kitchen.
Mm.
I know you and I talked about sewing before and how if it's not practical
Yeah,
in your
anything,
own
not even just
home.
sewing, but
Hmm.
literally anything. Honestly, I don't know if, okay, so I like to see what people are doing, like people that I follow. I like to see what their children are doing on Instagram when they share a practical life activity. I like to see it, but it's important to keep in mind that just because you've seen it online doesn't mean you should do it in your own home because it might not apply. It might not be practical to your child's existence. It might have nothing to do with their everyday life, and therefore it's not going to make sense to them in relation to their life.
Yeah.
Right? If they don't see you doing it every day,
Yeah.
they might not understand why they're actually doing it. They might not see how it fits into um, your home community. They might not see the importance of it.
Yeah, that's very true because I definitely do not do a lot of sewing.
I do sew. I sew patches in my daughter's pants. Not very well, but I do because she gets a hole. Literally, I buy her a new pair of pants, and those are like the pair of pants that have like, what are they? Like not reinforced knees, but what are they? They have like a special title when you buy them. They are like a special type of pants that has like really thick knees or something. I buy those.
Okay.
And by the end of the day, she puts them on. They're new. She puts them on, and by the end of the day, she has a hole. So I am constantly sewing patches in my daughter's pants.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I can't buy a new pair of pants or
yeah,
new pairs of pants every week. I just can't. I wouldn't be able to buy groceries.
yeah, yeah. Maybe sewing something that I should take up, but I've never really had an interest in it, even as a child. But yeah, I can understand the benefits of something like sewing and
Mm.
with
Mm.
preparing the hands or the fingers for writing. But
But there are other activities, though. That's the thing. Like
yeah.
sewing isn't the only activity that prepares our children. My daughter, she's done some embroidery. She went through a stage where her and her cousin were super into it and they like embroidered a bunch of things and then,
Hmm.
but um, it's not the only thing that prepared her hand.
Hmm.
Um, there's lots of other things that our children can do.
Yeah, I don't know if you caught the Peace Education Live. I think it was started by the author of the Montessori Baby and the Montessori Toddler. But there were a couple of other people on there.
Hmm.
So what does peace education mean to you and what resources
Mm.
have you used to study it?
Hmm. So beginning with the resources, my favorite collection of Montessori works is Education and Peace by Marie Montessori. There's also Citizen of the World. So those two are really great. So peace education, the way I understand it from what I've read, is trying to think of how I want to begin this. So first of all, I don't believe that our children need to be taught to be peaceful or to love all people. I don't think that's something, I think that comes from a place of adults because we are biased, we are prejudiced, we think human beings are born that way. I don't think they are. That's something we become because of traditional society and education. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, peace education is reform. It is social reform. It is education reform. Um, So the goal of peace education is to create a better world, a world that is not like the one we are living, a world where adults are content, where they don't feel the need to subvert others, where they have found their purpose in life and they just go about their life trying to contribute
Mm-hmm.
to a
Mm-hmm.
global mosaic
Mm-hmm.
and contentment. Okay.
Okay.
The way that we achieve this goal, that is where reform comes in. Reform of education, which is Montessori. Montessori is the embodiment of educational reform. Um, and then also social reform. So um, changing our view of children, changing the way that we approach them in the public sphere. Um,
I know it's
Finding, yeah, it's a
it's
hard thing to,
well, it's just a huge question. It's not
yeah,
um
you can't just give like an easy peace education is it's not just about um, continent boxes or cultural studies or um, continent maps. That's not enough. It's something totally. It's bigger. It's all encompassing.
yeah, for me, I think peace education is a movement for respecting others.
Mm.
Um, I know that's really
And yeah,
simplifying it.
and how we get there. But
Yeah.
it's everything that Montessori is respecting ch- respecting children's ability to educate themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So that way they can become independent and
yeah,
grow.
so that because it all leads to normalization, which is normalization is just um, the natural state of the child. Okay, so the theory is that um, children are naturally joyful. They naturally want to be helpful. They want to contribute. They want to be sociable, and they want to be peaceful. But because adults impose their will upon children and try to mold them in their image by teaching them, like in traditional education system,
Mm-hmm.
children cannot maintain this natural and normal state of a human being. So they deviate. They deviate from this normal state of the human being.
Mm-hmm.
So Montessori education, peace education is about protecting this natural instinct, the natural instincts of children, understanding the natural, like understanding child development, understanding psychology, things like that. But I
Mm-hmm.
also want to say that peace education is about adults as well. So we're not trying to educate, um, we're not trying to change the worldview of children. We don't need to. We need to change our worldview. We need to um, we need to look at our own ego. We need to look at our own prejudice, our own bias, our own racism, address it, be willing to accept that it's possible that we do hold racist ideology,
Mm-hmm.
and like just um, it's hard it's hard to talk about this topic now because of cancel culture. Right, everyone is so like we all feel so sensitive about it. We don't want to be racist. We don't want to be seen as racist or discriminatory, but we might, if we can at least entertain the idea in our minds that we could hold these ideologies and then work on it. Because the thing is, right, if during the first plane, sure, we're doing activities that introduce our children to the global community. We're making them aware of it. We're making them aware of differences. But eventually, our children enter a different plane and they go into society, and they're going to encounter situations either personally, or they're going to see it in the community. They're going to see it on the news, discrimination. They're going to see racism.
Mm-hmm.
And because you have a second plane child, they're going to want to discuss these things with you. They're going to be very sensitive to injustice, and they're going to want to talk to you about it. And that's where your preparation, even in the early years, is going to come in handy, right? And you may be evolving your worldview or establishing your worldviews. That's going to come in handy because you're going to be able to help your child navigate through that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you need to be clear about where you stand on social injustice.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's about preparation of the adults as well. It's not just peace education isn't just about educating children. It's about re-educating ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Looking in the mirror and seeing what needs to change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and being okay with it. Like this is all stuff that can be done internally. So just be okay with admitting to yourself, no one has to know that you might have I don't know.
And
that you might have bias.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That you might have bias. No one needs to know that. You can do all this work internally so that when the time comes that you really need to discuss hard topics with your child, you're prepared for that. Mm-hmm. Because if we want children that become adults that can heal the world, that can fix the world, then they need to be anti-racist. They need to be
right.
They need to be inclusive. Mm-hmm. So we need to model that. We need to be able to model that behavior.
Right. Okay.
That was a rant. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
It didn't make sense. I don't know.
It did. I understand. Peace education is just a huge topic, and there's just so many things that go into peace education that it's hard to get it into one little answer. But yes, I totally understand what you mean.
But you can read Education and Peace, and it'll be so clear. Those are a great collection of speeches by Montessori. It's really great.
Okay. All right. Well, I have just one little question that I got asked off of Instagram, and it was, how do I choose our earth signs topics? So I use Washika Biomes. I know it's kind of pricey, and we've had help purchasing some of their materials. But I've used Washika Biomes. I love looking on Allison's Montessori's website. Oh man, I could buy everything from them. Every time they put something new out, a new product, I'm like, I gotta have it. But yes, we're huge earth lovers over here, and we love studying about the earth. And so, for example, we're on layers of ocean right now, and then I wanted to work on the water cycle, and then learning about different types of clouds, or that just different types of clouds exist. And then move on to the celebration of the sun, or studying about the sun and the earth. But yeah, I just kind of move on from one topic to the next on because everything's connected.
Yeah.
And out of everything that we've studied, everything is connected, layers of earth, the soil.
Mm.
I could go on and on and on about
Yeah.
saving the earth. I could go on and on
Mm.
and on about
Mm-mm.
it, but yeah, we love learning how everything is connected. So I guess that would just be my best advice is just to
Mm.
say you're working with layers of earth and then, oh, where does lava or magma come from? It comes from a layer of earth. That's how, for example, that's how we've chosen to do our different topics.
Mm. Mm-mm.
Just because everything is connected. But obviously not everyone works that way. That's just how I do
Yeah.
it.
Um, yeah, we don't. My view on that is that there's time to do that in the elementary years. So I
Mm-hmm.
actually we don't have like any thematic studies or anything
Mm-hmm.
really. We get most of that information. My daughter does know things about that, but because of from books
Mm-hmm.
that we've read.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm relying more on the elementary years
Yeah.
for that. Like our primary studies are quite basic, maybe. I don't know if I want to say basic, but I'm gonna say basic. Like um I I don't want to commit to this, but I don't think I'm going to do cultural boxes or continent boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Is that horrible to say? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't think not because of like anything, like I don't want to be insensitive to um to all the different cultures
Mm-hmm.
on the various continents, just because um, yeah, I don't know if I want to I don't know if I want to invest my money in that
Yeah.
because we get a lot of our information from books. Also, we travel as a family,
Mm-hmm.
so we do have like souvenirs from our travel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think because I rely so much on books, like we do like puzzle maps.
Mm-hmm.
We do flags. My daughter's really that she's really into flags of the world. That's a really interesting topic for her.
Mm-hmm.
We do, and then also I rely a lot on just being in nature, like just being outside. You can learn
Mm-hmm.
so many great lessons.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then for anything that does come up, we usually just look it up in a book.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just got a really basic, but for some resources, um, there's again that David Getman book, Basic Montessori Learning Activities for Under Fives. He does go into the cultural exercises and materials for the primary years.
Mm-hmm.
There's also Susan Maitland Stevenson. Basically, any book she's ever written is a great resource for cultural studies.
Mm-hmm.
But she has one, The Red Corolla, where she addresses like the globes, the puzzle maps, the botany cabinet, landforms. So the traditional like Montessori materials and exercises for cultural.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just to end all of this, I just want to say too, I know or we know that everybody has different budget concerns.
Mm,
So I guess we just pick and choose what we want to try and find for free and what we are willing to pay for. But
yeah,
yes,
exactly.
I totally understand, someone who doesn't want to buy something but can figure out how to show their child or teach their child in a different way.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the thing about homeschooling is that
Mm-hmm.
you can get information from a lot of different places. You
Mm-hmm.
can pick and choose. There's like AMI isn't isn't monitoring what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
They don't regulate, right, your what you're doing in your homeschool as they would in an AMI certified classroom
Exactly.
or
Exactly.
recognized classroom.
Yeah. That's the beauty of homeschooling, being able to
Mm-hmm.
do what you want in the way that you want. But yeah, I totally understand. There's also this trend of that's not Montessori or this is Montessori on Instagram. So
Mm.
I just try to
But
keep an open
yeah.
mind. I keep an open mind for everyone because I know budget is a big
Mm-hmm.
issue.
Mm. Mm.
And I wish I could just open up my own Montessori school and just give it to everyone for free.
Mm.
But yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Emily, for being on here with me today. Appreciate all of your
Yeah.
input. We'll have to talk again. And you can find me on my Instagram at my inspiration and feel free to message me. I'm always usually there to answer questions. But thank you again, everyone, for listening. Stay tuned for my next podcast. I also wanted to say that I appreciate all of the feedback on Instagram, and everyone's accounts are really helpful and informative, and I continue to learn something new every day. But anyway, have a good night. Thank you. Bye.